Welcome to War Room Impeachment. We're live from Capitol Hill for our special evening show, Tuesday, 14 January, year of our Lord 2020, episode 114. I want to thank the folks at americasvoice.news who are actually in Milwaukee today. They're going to be covering live this tremendous rally the president's going to have tonight. It'll be a barn burner, no doubt, because today they officially are moving over they're going to vote tomorrow, but they pulled the trigger on moving forward to the United States Senate, the impeachment of Donald J. Trump, the 45th President of the United States. We're live every day and sometimes twice a day, 7 days a week, until the day after the acquittal/exoneration of President Trump on the John Fredericks Radio Network, nationwide terrestrial radio, on Salem Broadcast, americasvoice.news, which is the largest, most powerful streaming service in the conservative movement, and also Newsmax TV, now in 70 million homes. Got Raheem Kassam of Brexit fame, about to be of Megxit fame, as we talk about this aggregation of the royal family. Jason Miller's on the phone from Trump 2016. Jack Maxey is in studio, one of the guys who runs the War Room. He ran it in 18 in the midterm. Greg Manns is also going to be joining us. It's so packed today. This is why we need to do a second show, and even the second show doesn't have enough time to do everything. I think we want to get into this, and one of the things I want to get into is that particularly when we started the show, so many of the pundits, so many of the hot take folks were sitting there going, this is, he's going to get acquitted. Why are you even paying attention to this? Why are you paying any time with this? There's nothing, it's all fake news. It's stuff. Why are you spending a second on this? And now we're at over 1.1 million downloads, right? We're under your guidance and our task force down in Florida that's helping us. We're at 50,000, 75,000 a day now, almost 100,000 a day. It's insane because people need this information. We're going to cram so much in today's show. But the one thing I want to talk about is that I think in the war room, as Jack and Greg and the guys with Raheem, as you heard from Meadows today, you're probably one of the few people who have gone through all 7,000 pages of testimony and then every detail and everything else. So you guys know the details, like the Jim Jordans and the Mark Meadows and the Matt Gaetzes, et cetera. And people say, well, how's the thing? I think I'm one of the best positioned people to know. And I tell people, I know, it's like Samuel Goldwyn said about the movie business. Nobody knows nothing. Mm-hmm. Every day is a different day, right? Every day is going to be a different day on this thing. And I wanted specifically, this comment by Mitch McConnell absolutely shocked me today, the way he kind of tossed it out there. But I think we got a way to tee this up. Something that was kind of lost. We would mention it, but nobody else ever talked about it. And it happened out in Texas I think it was the Texas Monthly, a progressive magazine.
Tribune.
The Texas Tribune. Mm-hmm. I think the Texas Tribune is another one of the progressive ones out there that had it during the, I think, was this by South by Southwest?
Tribfest.
Tribfest. Okay,
yeah.
Tribfest.
Their own conference. Tribfest 19.
Tribfest 19 in September. Do we have, is Jason Miller, has joined us? Jason Miller is still trying to call in.
Nope, I'm here, Steve.
Okay, fine. That's thank you, brother. I want to play this, have you listen to it, and because as Bob Bartley at the Wall Street Journal said, it ain't a scoop until you treat it as a scoop. Let's play this.
Just before we, 10 seconds. I just want to make sure everybody realizes what we're dealing with here today, right? We've got today's events. We've got all sorts of things to do with this Lev Parnas character. We've got the Russian alleged hack of Burisma. We've got this national security conference that went on today.
The 100-day freedom recession, the first 100 days.
We've got the money guys in Silicon Valley that only this war room is going through and finding out who they are, what they're giving, how they're giving to. We've got the Democrat debate tonight. We've got this huge raging debate about the China deal and the UK-US-China relationship going on right now. The Huawei stuff. We've got Megxit, of course. We've got Joe Biden dropping new ads. This is a very packed show, and who better to kick us off than Jeff Flake
from September.
Well, so you have friends in Washington. All the attention now is on your former colleagues in the Senate because they would be the jury if there was an impeachment proceeding. So when you call your friends in D.C., what are they saying about these new allegations?
Oh, somebody mentioned yesterday that if there were a private vote, that there'd be 30 Republican votes. That's not true.
We lost the punchline there.
Lost the punchline.
I lost the punchline. Raheem, you had me so.
First of all, this is fake news because Jeff Flake does not have any friends.
Thanks for bailing me out there.
He was talking about Ben Sass and said 30. He comes in and says 35. The vote for guilty.
For guilty, he says if there's a private vote,
Yeah.
35 Republican senators, and the room erupts in laughter.
Yeah.
Now I have to describe this clip. The room erupts in laughter. Can we all just fake the laughter?
Doesn't do it in translation. But here's the point. Back in September, Ben Sass had come out, and Ben Sass said there'd be 30 that would vote to convict. Flake that next afternoon in a live thing says there'd be 35, right? And people laugh. Now, we're teeing this up to go to what Mitch McConnell said today, and this is after Blunt said that this came out after a closed-door meeting of the Republican, or closed-door lunch of the Republican caucus. Do we have that, Raheem?
We have nothing right now.
Okay, that's okay. We've
Technical difficulties.
That's okay. It's live. Hey,
Raheem, you're bailing me out. I so epic failed at playing clips on Sunday.
Oh, you did?
You have come through to make me look good, so thank you.
It was Saturday when I was gone Saturday. You were pathetic.
This is what happens when I have
You were
33
pathetic.
tabs open on my device and crashing everything. We're
and
gonna
viruses everywhere.
We're gonna get to those clips. Steve, you and Jason.
Okay.
While I fix this.
No. Give me the quote. Give me Mitch McConnell's quote. Just give me the quote. He said, there's no. We don't. He said,
Little to no sentiment.
Little to no sentiment to vote to dismiss Mr. Miller. This is exactly what we talked about today. Half of the deplorables on constitutional grounds wanted that as an option. The president does not have that option going into this fight. What say you?
Yeah, I mean, this is classic Mitch McConnell. And Mitch McConnell, after several days of Nancy Pelosi and some of the very weak Republicans that are in the Senate talking about witnesses and getting things all off track, Mitch McConnell came in and said that there's little to no interest in an immediate dismissal. He basically threw down and said, we're going to go and have this speed trial where we're going to go through on the Clinton model, where we go through and each side lays out their presentation. Then there are going to be votes to see if they're going to go and dismiss, and at that time determine if there's even a need to have any witnesses at all. So Mitch McConnell basically said, I'm in charge, these are the rules, President Trump, we're not even going to give you the opportunity to have a dismissal, and we're doing it my way.
Do we have the
Yeah,
let's listen to it.
We're going to try this once
Let's try
again.
it one more time.
And if it
by
fails,
the way, I let Miller try 3 times. Finally had to stop and said no more.
by
No
the
more.
way, if it fails, we're going to launch a crowdfunder on Warham.org to get me a new laptop. Okay.
Dealing with the witness issue at the appropriate time into the trial. And I think it's certainly appropriate to point out that both sides would want to call witnesses that they wanted to hear from. So when you get to that issue, I can't imagine that only the witnesses that our Democratic colleagues would want to call would be called.
The president has suggested that you should just move to dismiss. You clearly want to get this over sooner rather than later. Why not push to try and dismiss?
Yeah, there is little or no sentiment in the Republican conference for a motion to dismiss. Our members feel that we have an obligation to listen to the arguments, and we've laid out in this resolution an opportunity for everybody to sit there. Remember, senators can't say anything, so they'll have to sit there and listen.
Okay, so Mr. Jason Miller, communication strategist extraordinaire, wouldn't it be smart to have in your back pocket going into this weekend, the holiday weekend before the trial starts next week, wouldn't it be smart to go into that knowing you had in the back pocket a potential motion to dismiss?
Absolutely. And President Trump should have that ability to go and dismiss because there is nothing there. And for all of the talk about these soft Republicans being made to take these tough votes or to expose them, or Charles Schumer is the deputy best strategist ever, what about us putting them on defense? So whether it be your Doug Jones, whether it be your Gary Peters, whether your Gene Shaheens, go and make them vote to show just how unhinged they are and how obsessed they are in impeachment, that they want to push forward with this when there's nothing there.
In other words, in layman's speak, everything that has gone on since the beginning of this whole process, it's going to get thrown out by the Senate. Don't worry, we've got the Senate. Republicans control the Senate. Why are you even doing a radio show? You're wasting your time. All of that, right, is nonsense. And we're learning it's nonsense not just because of this. We're learning that it's nonsense not just because of what the Democrats are now saying about introducing evidence from Lev Parnas. We're learning that it's nonsense because of this war powers resolution.
By the way,
too.
so I don't know if you saw it, but Politico just broke a story that Tim Kaine says he has 4 Republican votes. He's got 4 votes to bring the war powers. Now, we can't confirm that yet, but we're going to start making some calls. But Tim Kaine said, I got, forget the 10 you hear about. I got 4 locked. Mr. Miller, what do you say? This is not the way you want to start this, right? Saying I have little or no sentiment for dismissal. And oh, by the way, and if he's got 4 votes in the war powers, that means this thing could roll, right?
Well, right, and I think it's not a buried lead. It's kind of the in-your-face lead. When we say little to no sentiment among our conference, think about this. Going back to Raheem's point, Republicans control the U.S. Senate. That is saying that a Republican-controlled U.S. Senate wants to actually go and have this trial, that they don't have the steel, enough of them, to actually go and say, you know what, we're going to go ahead and dismiss this thing. But to the War Powers Act, that is, it's a bit of it's a media effort from Tim Kaine. It's a little bit of a winning by losing. This thing's not going to go anywhere. It's not going to actually impact anything with Iran policy or President Trump policy, but it is going to be another media cycle where Morning Joe will go and open up the show saying Republicans in disunity. They're falling apart at the seams when Trump needs them the most, and so it'll be a nice media win for Tim Kaine. Ultimately, doesn't change anything.
Okay, I want to go back to what McConnell said before we go to Schumer. What McConnell said, there was some good news there. He did say, hey, coming out of this closed meeting, if you're going to have witnesses on your side, you're going to open up. Our guys are sitting there going to go witnesses on our side. I think that is that it's feeling more like if there's any agreement at all on these things, we could get closer to our long trial. Do you think, Mr. Miller?
Well, absolutely, because the setup question from McConnell specifically brought up Joe Biden, and it brought up Hunter Biden, and it brought up a couple of these characters. I don't think that the reporter asked about Shifty Schiff or Speaker Pelosi or the IG, but it definitely brought up the Bidens and definitely brought up the whistleblower. And McConnell threw down, and McConnell's like, hey, you guys want to go there? We'll be more than happy to go there. Now, here's the reality, Steve, is that you and I know that unless something catastrophic or astronomical or whatever big crazy thing happens, then McConnell's going to want to get this thing done and over with and wrapped up with no witnesses. That's just where Mitch McConnell wants to go with this thing. But there's a long way to go in this, and I still think we're ultimately heading for something where we're going to end up having some witnesses here. And Hunter Biden, I hope he has maybe some American Airlines miles saved up because I think you're going to be coming to Washington, buddy.
Okay, this morning we had Congressman Mark Meadows.
Does he bring his current wife, or does the baby mama? The east of the Mississippi, is the baby mama come? Or that's pretty.
Well, no, but you've got
so beneath me.
They can all all get on the Lolita Express. Okay, there's room for all of them.
That's so beneath me.
He can't still fly on Air Force 2. Oh no, that's only to China.
That's just to pick up the money.
Look,
remember President Trump's mesmerized by that $1 billion on the pallets to General Soleimani, right? What about the $1.5 billion to Hunter?
All right, guys, burning daylight over here.
Okay, right.
We had Congressman Mark Meadows on this morning,
yes.
And he says, let's do the witness exchange program, right?
Love it.
You take Bolton for Biden, but do you take Lev Parnas for the whistleblower?
Well, Lev Parnas is breaking.
That was dramatic silence.
No, listen, I have no problem with Lev Parnas. I have no problem with Lev Parnas's devices. Right? None whatsoever. Bring it. Anything they want, they can bring. Okay. You give us whistleblower. You give us Brennan. I want Brennan's the top of it. I take Brennan before Hunter Biden. Hunter Biden's a Grundoon. He's just receiving the cash. He's a total Grundoon. I want Brennan. I want Clapper. I want the whistleblower. That whole nest of vipers. Right. Let's get that, and let's get their electronic devices. Okay. Let's get their electronic devices. I'll swap Brennan's electronic devices for Parnas's any day of the week. It'll be much more interesting.
That I can deal with.
It connect much more dots. Oh, do we have Schumer's thing, or can we let hang on for one more, Jason? We got Schumer's throwdown back to McConnell.
This is Chuck Schumer speaking on the Senate floor. If we can cue it up.
The leader can do is smear our request as some partisan fishing expedition intended to damage the president. But the leader himself has warned that the witnesses we've requested might not help the House manager's case against the president. He's right about that. These are the president's top advisors. They're appointed by him, vetted by him. They work with him. We don't know what those witnesses will say or what the documents will reveal. They could hurt the president's case, or they could help the president's case. We don't know, but we know one thing. We want the truth on something as weighty and profound as an impeachment trial. Does Leader McConnell want the truth? Do Senate Republicans want the truth?
So you can hear Chuck Schumer on his high horse today.
Chuck Schumer can't handle the truth. Mr. Miller, say you.
You know what? Actually, I thought that was pretty weak from Schumer. I mean, for Schumer, sometimes he's a pretty good strategist. Sometimes he'll have some good plays and some good angles on things. I think that their much more effective tactic is the Tim Kaine route, just to go and continue to throw refrigerators on the train track, try to cause disunity amongst the GOP caucus. I thought Crying Chuck just kind of sounded like he was whining there.
Okay, before we let you go, Lev Parnas, do you think they're making Lev Parnas, and now the Chyron's blowing up? Right now they got his electronic devices. What about Lev Parnas? I got no problem. Lev Parnas, they want to bring in Lev Parnas, bring in Lev Parnas.
Yeah, neither do I. I mean, Lev Parnas is basically just Michael Cohen with a worse accent. I mean, he's out there. I mean, when
better gold chains.
Yeah, the gold chain game is pretty strong. But look, here's just to make sure people understand this. So Lev Parnas, obviously in the crosshairs of the SDNY, the Southern District of New York. Sounds like he has a bunch of shady business dealings and this whole own set of problems separate from anything else in Washington. He's trying to go and he's trying to inject himself into this impeachment thing. Why is he doing it? Because he thinks that he's going to go and be able to cop some kind of deal and then have like less jail time for fraud or whatever crazy stuff.
Less jail time, bigger book deal.
Yes, and Michael Cohen pulled the same thing, and guess what? Mueller and those characters basically told him to go pound sand. They're like, you don't have anything interesting, and so get lost. Lev Parnas is just trying to recreate the Michael Cohen playbook. It's not going to work. I mean, even if he did come forward, there's nothing to fear about with a Lev Parnas. He's an idiot.
Jason Miller's our wingman here. Jason, thank you very much for phoning in. Go back to your assignment, and we'll see you tomorrow morning. Matt Gaetz, by the way, Congressman Matt Gaetz will be here with Raheem and Jason tomorrow morning live at 9 a.m. I'm actually going to be on earlier in the morning in New York on Squawk Box, talking about all things China, and I'm sure the impeachment. Let's go to...
What is Squawk Box, for those that don't know? Squawk
Box is obviously the CNBC morning show, but in Wall Street, on the trading floor, you have a Squawk Box over here, and that's every day they tell you what's palladium is moving, right? They tell you what stock is up, you know, whatever firm you're at, what they're taking public, etc. So it's always that Squawk Box. You're always listening to it because it directly relates to your bonus. Let's talk about bonuses. Bonus time now for Putin. The liberal media is all over the fact of this hack, the Russian hack. Now, you guys, the War Room, you're starting to deconstruct this. Now, we're just starting our reverse investigation. But Jack and Raheem, where do we stand on this?
We also have some breaking news that we want to go to as well. The Intelligence Committee releasing a statement moments ago talking about
House Intel
talking about additional evidence being sent, Lev Parnas related evidence being sent. This is breaking about 2 minutes ago. Adam Schiff, Jerry Nadler, Carolyn Maloney, and Elliot Engel issuing a statement. We're going to be going through that shortly.
That's more than Intel. That's all the committee heads.
That's the committee heads, but it's coming out of Intel is the statement, and it's on the House Intel website. This is breaking right now, so we're going to be going through this, but this is adding evidence to go to the Senate ahead of the formal process as it begins next Tuesday. We're going to have the War Room go through this.
Do they say what the evidence is? They're sending over some metadata, I take it?
It says, during the impeachment inquiry, we issued a subpoena to associates of Rudy Giuliani who were involved in the president's scheme. One of those individuals is Lev Parnas, who responded to his subpoena by turning over a trove of documents that provide more information about the effort to coerce Ukraine into helping the president's re-election campaign. These documents and those recently released pursuant to the Freedom of Information Act demonstrate that there is more evidence that relates to the president's scheme, but they have been concealed by the president himself. All of this new evidence confirms what we already know. The president and his associates pressured Ukrainian officials to announce investigations that would benefit the president politically. Doesn't say how much new evidence is in there. It doesn't say what kind, if it's metadata or if it's documents, if it's text messages.
Well, we do know he turned over all his electronic devices, correct? We heard there was thousands of pages. That could be the phone, the phone records, all that.
That is correct, and there are
Messages.
attached documents to this. So we'll be going through this on the break. So stay tuned to War Room Impeachment because you're not going to want to miss that.
If this is sensational enough, could this have Nancy Pelosi not have the vote tomorrow? Slow it down, take a couple of days to digest what they say is new information.
I believe that this is all built into the reason that there has been a delay, rather than adding to a further delay.
Oh, you want to do a dramatic thing right at the last moment?
This is the October surprise per se in this whole process. There are.
This is why we heard and we reported on this show, I think for the first time, that all over the Christmas period, the House Intel guys for the Democrats were working nonstop.
And this is
beavering away.
As we say, ladies and gentlemen, this is breaking news. If you're listening to this on repeat, this is live right now on Tuesday afternoon. This news is breaking. There are 38 pages in one document. A lot of these appear to be scanned Ritz-Carlton Vienna paper. With notes on them. Looks like notes that have allegedly been written by Rudy Giuliani. There are text messages, scans of text messages that have obviously been printed out. Documents in Ukrainian. Lots of things in that first tranche. Another 21 pages of text messages in the second tranche. And 5 pages in the third. So we'll be going through all of that. Thank you for giving me some work to do overnight, Lev Parnas.
So we don't have enough time. I want to hold what we know in Russia. We're just going to have to cram in. Maybe we bump Megxit to another day.
I should hope so.
In this second. But let's tell people about how they go to the site, what to see on the site. The reason is we do run a war room here. We have rapid response. We have people that go through all the evidence, look at things, and then we post it up there, unlike any other place. Around all 7,000 pages, curated for you. And now tonight we will curate Lev Parnas's, the great team we've got here. How can people get there, Raheem?
When you hear us flapping live, that's because we're running a proper rapid response research team here. We're not just committed to plugging in things and playing Mitch McConnell clips
or
messing them up. Missing our
not.
cues. There's all sorts of other work that goes into this. It all takes place at warroom.org, where you can sign up for the podcast, for the newsletter. You can check it every single day, and we're very grateful for all of our partners out there that link back to the site. The site's on fire, the podcast is on fire, and very grateful for our production team here as well.
Remember, the top 10 news sites, podcasts in the country. We want to thank the America's Voice guys. We're in Milwaukee right now for the rally. We're going to take a short break. 1:14, be back in a minute.
War Room Impeachment. Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
Episode 114, and kind of a bombshell episode. The special we're doing in the afternoon, War Room Impeachment. It's Tuesday, the 14th of January, year of our Lord 2020. We've got the team here. We got Greg Manns and Jack Maxey from actually
pulled in the heavyweights.
Pulled in from the engine room, right where stuff happens. The heads of the rapid response team here. They're 24/7 on watch. Raheem Gassam, Jason Miller's just dropped off right after he said Jason Miller's final words. I'll take anything Parnas has to serve up.
Yeah, you're going to get it.
That was apocryphal. What happened in the interim? Talk to me about Lev Parnas.
All right, so just before we went to break, for those listening live, a new press release from the four committee chairmen, Adam Schiff, Jerry Nadler, Carolyn Maloney, and Elliot Engel, issuing a statement. That statement is to alert the world that new information, new material, as it seems to have been gleaned from the devices of Lev Parnas, the Rudy Giuliani associate, will be included in documents and materials provided to the Senate for the upcoming Senate trial alongside the articles of impeachment. We've been going over these documents in the break. You'll appreciate we've had a very short amount of time to go through it, but from what we can tell, they are emails, text messages, and not least handwritten notes, the handwriting which we are still ascertaining whose handwriting it is, but it looks as if they're trying to say that this is Rudy Giuliani's handwriting on Ritz-Carlton letterheaded paper. We're still trying to figure out whether that's alleged to be Rudy Giuliani's handwriting or somebody else. There's about 30 documents in one, 38 in another, and another 5-page letter that's involved in that as well. Now, there are lots of new names here, Steve, and the reason that's important in this whole process is, do you believe that the introduction of all this new evidence, all these new names, all these new links will lead Nancy Pelosi to delay the impeachment process further?
Well, I don't know. We got to go into this, but right now, the way they've dropped this, right, like a bomb in the timing. Remember, there are no coincidences, right? They get Mitch McConnell come out to say there's not going to be a dismissal, right? That we have little interest in doing that. Next thing you know, they drop what they think is a thermonuclear weapon on this with all this new information to give Nancy Pelosi a time to said we have to we have to look at this. We have to talk to some of these people. We have to look at this information. This is what we've been saying, that we're gathering additional information. This is why you have to have witnesses. Greg Mans has been saying from the beginning, and I laughed it off, that they were always looking to do this to push it past Iowa, the Iowa caucuses, and New Hampshire, and that's when she wanted to let Trump twist in the wind and didn't do that. We're going to have to see. This is all live. It's just happening. But, they've got, we just heard that they took the electronic devices of Parnas, right? And now you've got actually, and jump in here, guys, now they actually have handwritten notes, it looks like, from the Ritz-Carlton in Vienna.
So it looks like Lev Parnas' attorney is confirming that the notes were written by Lev Parnas, not by Rudy Giuliani, but by Lev Parnas. And those notes contain bullet points, things that say, get Zelensky to announce the Biden case will be investigated. Start communicating with Zelensky without Pinchuk or somebody else. Put together package, go to DC with package, do my magic and cut deal. Victoria/Joe retain, and this goes on. These are the things you're now going to hear. These are the things you're now going to see, the hyper specifics. And again, once again, we will see this whole thing of the media saying, we'll explain it to you. Allow us to tell you what to think about
Allow
all
us
of
to
this.
curate it and explain it.
So what stood out to me in what you were just reading there is my. He wrote down my. Who does that refer to?
Work my magic, do my magic.
Yeah.
That's Lev Parnas writing down that Lev
they're
Parnas
going to
wants to do
question
Lev Parnas' magic.
Did he take a stack of these things from the Vienna? I'm sure he's been there a million times. Did he take it? All this is to be said. But here's the thing: on the eve of the vote, to send it, to transmit it for only the third time in the history of the Republic, now they've got this. Okay.
Yes. And Jack.
Well, listen. I mean, I want to step in here. Remember, these guys are experts at manufacturing sort of sets of data, right? Remember the Black Ledger, which now everyone reputes to have been mocked up.
That was on Manafort.
Yeah,
right. They had the $24 million that all added up. Turned out it was kind of created after the fact.
Right, and if Parnas is the guy who wrote
you're not trusting anything coming out of the Ukraine or that part of the world, right?
No, and if Parnas wrote these notes, were they contemporaneous or he said they did? They just sound a little bit too perfect in 4 pages.
Yeah, we'll have to see. This is why this is so dropped out. Let's go back to something getting there. As we develop this more, and in the war room, we're going to have it all up later, work through for the folks at home. Let's go through what we do know on another bomb that dropped, and of course, MSNBC and the New York Times. By the way, if the New York Times did not print, I got my copy of the paper of record right here, I get every day. If it did not print, CNN and MSNBC would be a test pattern, right? They just take it right off. They just take it right off the New York Times. It goes. Rachel Maddow last night. They dropped the thing, and they're. I take it CNN's in full meltdown now.
CNN now. Well, they've got the okay from the New York Times, and CNN now has the notes that we just read out on war room impeachment notes.
So they're slow. CNN's
on the
catching
television.
They're catching up with the war room, right?
That's absolutely.
You want to hear it first? You got to come here, right?
Yep.
You got to go to America's Voice. Let's talk about this. Supposedly this massive new bit of information about Putin. The junior pardon of President Trump is the way that the New York Times basically makes it, at MSNBC. Now, he's come in and hacked, this huge thing that the Russians have hacked Burisma, right, looking for more dirt. What do we know about that one? Because we've had 24 hours to look at that.
Well, listen, I mean, this Area 1 security is founded by 3 guys, all former...
Let's reset real quick.
You got to give people the...
let's give the background. So
Jack's
Rachel...
Jack's just out of the war room. No. He's so far down the engine room. I love it. He's a snipe. No, you got to get see some sun. You're going to come on deck, have a cigarette, see the ocean. You see the thing.
Right. Sounds kind of
good.
The
11th bearing.
Rachel Maddow, the New York Times, and the Associated Press, right? They all hit this over the course of the last 24 hours and say, hey, it looks like there was been a big hack. Looks like that hack was by the Russians, and it looks like the Russians hacked Burisma. Right now, Burisma is the victim. One of the most corrupt companies in the world is the victim of this hack. The people, the company standing up the information behind this is a company called Area 1. Jack, tell us a little bit more about Area 1, who's involved with Area 1, what has Area 1 been trying to do, and what has the FEC been stopping them up until very recently from doing, and what are the implications if Area 1 gets its way in the cyber environment as it pertains to political campaigns? Tell us what Area 1 would achieve.
Okay, Area 1 Security, they claim that they are the world experts at stopping phishing expeditions where somebody sends you a picture, you click on it, and they get into your system. Well, they went, believe it or not, last April to the FEC requesting, I guess out of the goodness of their hearts, could they be allowed to provide this phishing services to all of the presidential campaigns?
The anti-phishing.
The anti-phishing expertise. And they apply to the FEC, and the FEC originally says no, and they come back again with their attorney, and the FEC says, oh, well, you do this for charitable organizations? Okay, I guess you can do it here as well.
This is a company run by who? Give us the names of the people and the affiliations of the people, because this is a big deal. And the reason this is a big deal is it's a very tiny company of people who have served in the U.S. national intelligence agencies, of people who have worked at CrowdStrike, and of Democrat donors. And they're not just saying.
What do you mean Democrat? Okay, let's get.
I'll
make sure we don't have 10 full hats.
You don't need to do it.
Okay.
I got all my stuff
you
here.
your facts,
yeah, we've got loads of facts, right? And I'm going to throw it back to Jack. But here's the thing: they want to be the sole provider. We said this morning on the show, right? Quiz Custodiate, who watches the watchers? They want to be the key providers of anti-phishing technology to all political campaigns, which means they have forget the back door. They have a front door. They have the key to every campaign: Republican, Democrat, Trump, Clinton, Biden, you name it. They want to be these. Who are these guys, Jack?
Okay, the three guys, all former NSA: Blake Darsh, Phil Syme, and the leader of the company is a guy named Orrin Falkowitz. Falkowitz has been a contributor to Democrats, gave to Elizabeth Warren and Cory Booker $2,600 each this past cycle. And I think that one thing you have to think about these guys, okay, yes, there is an angle that they want to get in, get the data, and then their second request to the FEC, where the FEC actually let them do this, or is going to allow them to do this, they claimed, oh, well, our benefit is research, right? You know what their benefit is? Their benefit is controlling the narrative.
Yeah.
CrowdStrike, remember, they're the ones who investigated the DNC server. The only thing that we have is their say-so.
So are we dependent upon these people say so that the Russians hack? Is this where we are? Is that they're the ones who are telling us it's a Russian hack?
This is exactly it. I mean, this is very similar to the whole Free Syrian Army thing, right? Remember, back when the whole thing blew up in Syria, there was only one organization that was continuously cited across the Western news, and it was the Free Syrian Army. Turns out it was some guy in a suburban house in West London who had, quote unquote, sources on the ground in Syria feeding him all this information. He would launder it and feed it into the US and UK press, and it would become statements of fact. You've got the same thing happening here. Always go to the source, and the source right now is a bunch of Democrat donors, people who have worked at CrowdStrike, and people who have worked for the US intelligence apparatus. And if there's one thing we've learned in the last couple of months, if there's one thing that we have to be very, very clear about, it's, hey, if they come out and they tell you at this specific time, a week away from a potential Senate trial, or if Greg is right, a month away from a potential Senate trial, if they're telling us, hey, right now you can't talk about Burisma in the way you've been talking about Burisma for so long, because guess what? The Russians are after him, and guess what? If you go after Burisma, that makes you the same as the Russians. You have to look into these people very closely.
I consider myself a fairly sophisticated consumer of this type of news. I watched the whole Rachel Maddow segment last night. I missed this. Did Rachel's staff, did her research staff?
Oh, come on. They read the press release from Area 1 out.
exactly. As printed in the New York Times. Okay, we got to go through. We got a bunch of wood to chop here.
Yep.
Let's go through. I want to talk about this combination of donors and also the Freedom Recession crowd over the first 100 days. Ladies and gentlemen, you should understand this. they're already planning the first 100 days of the next administration. In fact, they had a meeting today to talk about these. This is all about a national security and foreign policy debate, which is impeachment's all about. They decided to give us the sunlit uplands, the 100 days, the first 100 days of a Democratic administration after they remove President Trump from office, which is the only way they're going to do it is through an election, right? So they're going to give us the first 100 days, and this is Susan Rice in the old crowd somewhere here in Washington over at Kalorama having a soiree, right? The walkthrough. Tell us what happened.
By the way, I'm really upset. I tried to register to go to this conference today, and they told me it was sold out. And then I watch it on television on C-SPAN, and there's like 50 empty seats there. I was very upset not to be.
I think they cross-reference you. I don't know if it's the Enoch Powell book that kicked you out or the no-go zones.
It always comes back to
or the
Enoch.
managing editor of Breitbart London. One of those three.
Enoch never dies. Listen. You had Samantha Powers up there, former U.S. ambassador to the United Nations. And effectively, gentlemen, you were watching with me, correct me if I'm wrong. She says this. She says, we've had a freedom recession in the United States over the last 3 years under the stewardship of President Trump. Sorry, a freedom recession in the world under President Trump. And I know Stephen K. Bannon has a thing or two to say about that.
Did she miss the vote in Taiwan over the weekend? Did she miss the demonstrations in Hong Kong? Did she miss Tehran? Did she miss the people that she appeased, the Chinese Communist Party, but particularly the mullahs? Did she miss these young millennials in the street out there for freedom, democracy, and the rule of law? What is Samantha Powers missing? I thought she's supposed to be so bright. She's an author of books, and she's she's a public intellectual who's also a woman of action. What is she missing?
Remember, they don't think of freedom in the way we think of freedom. They don't think of it in constitutional terms. They think freedom is basically freedom of movement and freedom of corporate excesses, right? That's freedom to these guys. This is the corporate class, right? This isn't even the progressive class. This is the corporatist up there on stage. And the second thing that I noticed is a big pull out from there is everything came back to the United Nations. We must work with the United Nations on this. How did we not have the United Nations on North Korea? How, why can't we defer to the United Nations on more things? How come we can't get the Secretary General to speak up?
Now you're to the heart of it. Now you're to the heart of it. And speaking of the corporatist, let's connect the dots to your group in Silicon Valley. Not just Bloomberg's $1 billion, right? It's not just Bloomberg's one large, okay? And Tom Steyer from hedge funds, he's going to put in a bunch. But now they've got this other kind of nefarious group that is truly the corporatist.
Guys, I want to bring Greg in on this because he's been doing the heavy lift on the research here. But I want to. I've not done this on the show before. I'm ringing the alarm bells right now. Okay, this is a very, very precarious situation we're in. We have a massive voter registration drive going on, up to 160 million potential voters in this next election. You've got Bloomberg spending up to $1 billion. You've got these.
If he's not the nominee.
If he's not the nominee, you've got these Silicon Valley donors. You've got all this new stuff as it pertains to impeachment. You called Nancy Pelosi the master strategist, and there were rooms in which you would have been laughed out if you had said them in there, because all these people are slapping each other on the back saying, we've got this in the Senate. Pelosi doesn't know what she's doing. She's been embarrassed. Even, by the way, what's his name at CNN? Saliza writes this thing today, op-ed today on CNN, says Nancy Pelosi failed in her masterstroke. This is a masterstroke. It's coming together. It's all coming together right now. Republicans are going to have all of this stuff dumped on their heads. We've got nothing to say about it in return. Greg, tell us about this group.
So coming out of Palo Alto in the heart of Silicon Valley, there's a group called Mind the Gap. So Mind the Gap is funded by Facebook guys, Google guys, venture capitalists, angel investors. That's their core. But what stood out to me in going through their donations that are publicly available so far is that David Cohen, who's one of the biggest fundraisers for Joe Biden,
big time,
gave it his blessing. And he is the definition of a corporate lobbyist, Comcast go-to guy to expand across the country.
And President Trump refers to it as Comcast, right? The Roberts family. This is the most far left-wing people that own the massive cable operation. I think NBC also. They own a massive cable operation and NBC.
Yep.
So and David Cohen's one of the guys in back of this. By the way, Palo Alto, even worse than being in Silicon Valley, it's also Stanford University, which
big.
is
It's massive, and they haven't filed properly. Is that correct?
Yep,
They
they've-
pulled down their website.
Yep. No website.
how could they possibly not file right? These guys, this is what they do. They're professionals.
And that's the thing.
There's got to be
they-
something hinky in this.
Yeah, they got called out by even Vox. Imagine that. Vox called them out for calling them political novices, but they're still being able to extract these high-dollar donations, even though they're making the most amateurist errors on
You're
simple
seeing
filings.
the convergence of forces, the way the communists used to say. You see the thing on the Russian hack with the company there that's all Democratic donors. You've got now the left Parnas stuff that's dropping out. They've been working on nonstop over the holidays, right? You've got this corporatist thing. You've got already they're giving people a plan of what's to do on the other side of this. The converging forces. Anybody that thinks, and they should listen to what Mitch McConnell said, all the Trump supporters, everybody out there that do not think we're not in for the fight of our life, this is a continuation of the nullification project. It will not stop. They're going to come every day with every weapon they've got to come at to try to either remove President Trump from office, defeat him in November, or blunt the direction of the Trump revolution. They're already sitting there saying, hey, we've got the plan afterwards because what he's done is a freedom recession. Will you give me a break? There's more people in the streets throughout the world. In Hong Kong, they've got the things of President Trump as a superhero. Right? A superhero. And they got when was the last time the American flag is waved in Taiwan for the election? American flags on Hong Kong when they know the CCP, the Chinese Communist Party, will arrest you. But most important, you see the American flag in Beirut of the guys going to Beirut against Hezbollah. But most important, they put the American flag down to be walked on and spit on in Tehran, and the young people will walk around it, okay, to show the mullahs they won't do it. Where's your freedom recession there? What they're talking about is that President Trump is trying to restrict these globalists, trying to restrict these globalist corporations, right? And trying to restrict this open borders. Anybody can go anywhere they want, okay? That's what they're fighting. And that's why this is a series of fights we've got. I know we've had to drop China, we've had to drop Megxit, we had to drop Huawei. What else we got to get
Well,
to?
we have a Democrat debate tonight. Joe Biden is trailing that he refuses.
Hold on. This is referred to as the Witness Protection Program. These people are so boring, okay? The action is up on Capitol Hill because this is a snooze fest. The biggest thing they got is some alleged, conversation that Bernie thought Bernie's so old and crazy, he didn't know what he heard. Doesn't remember. He thought he heard or Elizabeth Warren, Pocahontas, thought that she heard that Bernie said a woman can't win. But Bernie, no offense, note to self, a woman did a full beatdown on you in the 2016 primary, right? She let's be brutally frank. Hillary Clinton bench pressed Bernie Sanders.
We got a problem here in studio. we got the producer Vish with the giggles over here. Biden says he's not going to attack any other candidates. That's what he's trailing ahead of the debate right now. You've also got something very interesting that you would expect ahead of a debate.
You would think that one of the people, AOC, note to your staff. I think you ought to get in back of the Silicon Valley group because I don't know if they're your friends. That's in back. You might want to have your hand puppet on stage, Bernie Sanders, because I know you run the socialist part of the program now, and have Bernie maybe maybe bring this up about all the corporate money coming in here to back Joe Biden.
But who's gonna ask Bernie Sanders about this latest Project Veritas release that came out today about his staff saying that once Bernie is elected, we're going to have gulags to re-educate people away from being Nazis. He says that we're going to make 1968 look like a Girl Scout cookies cook-off.
Let's talk about that. That's on Drudge, but man, Veritas got it. If this had happened, people said, "Oh, they're just field organizers."
Right.
I said, if this had happened with the Trump campaign, if you'd had Trump field organizers like that, you'd have 1 million other pink hats in town, right, to shut the city down. Okay, what they said is brutal. Talk about this. They're talking. They're openly laughing about taking the deplorables and putting them in re-education camps. Right? It says worse than she.
Yeah, this is Kyle Jurek, the Iowa field organizer.
Iowa. By the way, if you're the Iowa field organizer,
you are senior.
You're senior. Yeah. You're a player because it's all about ground game. It's all about ground game in Iowa. So this is not some grundoon, right? This is a important player.
Yeah, he says, I'll tell you what, in Cuba, what do they do to the reactionaries? You want to fight against the revolution, you're going to die for it, MFer.
Fight against the revolution.
Yep, he says, free speech has repercussions. There are consequences consequences for your effing actions. You should expect a violent reaction, and you deserve a violent reaction. He says, speaking of Elizabeth Warren and in the comments back and forth between Warren and Sanders, he says, this is an emergency situation and you're hung up on vaginas. This is
Whoa.
Yeah, this is
By the way, this is a family program.
No, it's
but
a medical term.
It's a quote from. It's actually a quote from. It's off of Drudge, so we can say it. He actually said that in front of people.
He absolutely said that in front of people. Now he talks about the DNC convention, and he says if Bernie doesn't get the nomination or it goes to a second round at the convention, effing Milwaukee will burn. It will start in Milwaukee, and when the police push back on that, other cities will just effing explode. The cops are going to be the ones getting effing beaten in Milwaukee. They're going to call the National Guard up for that S. I promise you that. I'm ready to throw down now. I don't want to wait for the effing DNC, the billionaire class, the effing media pundits walk into the MSNBC studios, drag those mother effers out by their hair and light them on fire in the streets. Senior Bernie Sanders organizer. You think he'll get a question about that on stage tonight, Steve?
No, it'll be crickets. It'll be total crickets. I mean, this is outrageous. Every blue-collar Democrat out there that's listening to this, all the working people have been Democrats. So my family was a Democratic family. Ought to listen to that and remember 1968, right? Remember what they did in 1968. This is why Richard Nixon won by such a big landslide, and this is why President Trump deserves a win by a landslide. Raheem, how can people go to the site?
Well, not just go to the site, but look at the lead story on the site right now is those latest documents out of the House committees, warroom.org.
Episode 114, Matt Gaetz tomorrow.